This screencast is to support this lesson on futures review, and it's on the topic of home improvements. It's from Straightforward Upper Intermediate Students Book by P. Kerr, Kerr, and C. Jones, and it's published by Macmillan. So the book introduces the topic by looking at some vocabulary. In this green box we've got various vocabulary related to home improvements. The book says look at the book covers and which of the phrases in the box would you expect to find in books like these. You could do that, or you could simply get the students matching words and phrases to pictures, or matching words to meanings, etc. It's up to you how you do it. Make sure that the students understand this vocabulary before you move on to the listening. So that means concept checking for meaning, dealing with any spelling issues that you think might come up, and drilling any of the trickier vocabulary. Next, the students are going to listen to a dialogue and do the first listening exercise. So give them a chance before they listen to read through the different home improvements in the list, and then they're going to listen and tick the ones that they hear in the audio. So you can start them off with an example, play the audio up to and then pause where they mention the first of these. Ask them which one it was. Quick peer check. See if they've got the right answer. Okay, now listen to the rest of the audio and tick the other ones that you hear. Then they can peer check to build their confidence and see if they've got the same answers, and then get some feedback ensuring that you show them the correct answers on your slide. Once they've done that task, they can move on to the second listening task. They listen to the same audio again, and this time they answer more detailed questions about it. Okay, so again, give them some time to just read through and do an example, and then play the audio, allow them to peer check, monitor the peer checking stage to see if they need to listen again. If they do, play it through again, and a second peer check stage after the second listening for this task, and again feedback, making sure that they can see the answers. And then you can follow this with, if you've got time, with this short discussion question: how could you make your home more environmentally friendly? So elicit some ideas about what the students think for that one. Next, you can show them these 6 sentences, A to F, and tell them that they all come from the audio that they've just listened to, and ask the students in small groups or pairs, maybe groups of 3 or pairs, to match each sentence with one of the meanings. Now at this level, students know that there are different ways of expressing the future in English, but the problem is students do tend to just use will because it's the easiest way to express the future, but it's not always the right way. So we're reviewing the futures, and they need to understand and recap on the meanings of the different future forms and when we use them. So get them to match the sentences with the meanings, and they can do that in pairs or small groups. And make sure when you're doing feedback that they're really clear about why each sentence matches with its meaning. So here are the rules. So they've done a small test where they've matched the different future forms to their meanings, and now we can really look in detail at the meaning, form and pronunciation of these future forms. So this grammar box sets that out, and you can create a task. So instead of giving them the information, look at these statements in the grammar box and try and perhaps leave some gaps where the students need to fill in the gaps to complete the sentence with the correct rule. So, for example, use the blank blank to talk about schedules. You could have the different answers at the bottom and they could choose one of them to put into each gap. Okay, so try and create a task out of these sentences that the students can do to make it more memorable and to make them really think and discuss, think about and discuss the rules. Okay, so again, that's more on meaning and also focuses on form, doesn't it? So things like use going to plus infinitive to talk about intentions. So you could leave the gap here at plus gap plus, and they have to come up with infinitive. So they're thinking about the form as well. Same down here with will. You could leave out will this time to add a bit of variety. Okay, so yeah, think about how you can get them working out rules of meaning and form. And then you want to return to your initial sentences that they did the matching task on and do some drilling so that you can focus on pronunciation. So back to our sentences, things like you're not gonna win, you're not gonna win, okay, gonna, you're not gonna win. You could drill that because that is how we speak, okay. Think about sentence stress. We're doing the bathroom next week. We're doing the bathroom next week. We're doing the bathroom next week. Okay. Make sure that the students are aware of the negative of will. It's obviously will not, but we say won't when we're speaking. So think about what's useful for them when you're focusing on pronunciation. Sentence stress, any contracted forms, I'll, any weak sounds, any linking, you're not going to win, okay, that kind of thing, to really help them speak like a native but also understand native speakers when they're listening. And then they can move on to the second test phase and do some more controlled practice. Now they've got a bit more reviewing of the rules done, so they can do this exercise where they need to choose the correct verb form to complete the dialogue. So elicit the first one as the example, ask the students why they've chosen that one, make sure they can see the answer, and then let them either do it individually and peer check or do it in small groups and get feedback at the end, making sure that the students can justify their answers. For the freer speaking practice at the end of the lesson, there's a nice little activity in number 3 here that gives students different statements that answer questions, and they need to speak for 30 seconds and their partner needs to try and guess what question they're answering. So let's have a look at the activity. So student A has this activity. Choose one of the questions below and spend 2 minutes preparing what you're going to say. Speak for 30 seconds without pausing or repeating. Do not tell your partner which question you're answering. So partner B does not know what these questions are. They don't have them. So depending on how much time you've got, you can either give student A 1 or 2 questions to prepare the answers for. And as you can see, they're all referring to the future in some way. But they don't really relate to the initial topic of the lesson of home improvement. So I would add in a couple that relate in some way to home improvements, just to keep it more consistent with the topic. So it could be something like, what kind of house are you going to live in when you're older? Or are you planning to do any home improvements in the next month? So you could have one question like that, which relates directly to the topic, and maybe choose another one. So give them 2 each, I would suggest, to prepare, and you could give them slightly longer than 2 minutes to prepare what they're going to say before they speak. So that's student A, and student B has to do the same thing, but with a different set of questions. So student B's questions are here. So after they've had some preparation time, you can either put them in pairs or in small groups or groups of 4 and get them to speak for as long as possible. Make sure that they know that they need to use as many different future forms as possible and the correct ones. And then the other people in the group have to try and guess what question they're answering. So obviously monitor this and listen out for good examples and incorrect examples of the target language, the future forms. And after you've got everybody back together when they finish the activity to get some feedback, find out, did you guess the right question? What did you find out about each other? Do some post-fluency correction. So the students can identify any incorrect sentences and correct them together.